Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Up the Waterfall with your hosts, Zanna and Scott Otis.
Hello.
We are now firmly entrenched in our return to the audio waves.
Goodness. Firmly entrenched.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that a fun descriptive term?
Yes.
We wanted to take a quick moment and thank everyone who has been listening to our new and improved podcast episodes and letting us know that you've been listening and all of that fun stuff, commenting and sharing. We love to share the love, and we're just going to keep going, basically.
Why not?
Today, I thought we would discuss, since there's been so much news recently, was that yesterday or the day before? The treasure came into port at Port Canaveral. It doesn't matter, but it's been happening very recently. So I thought we could discuss Disney Cruise Line in general, because so much has happened. And we started out doing a discussion on the most recent D23 Expo, or Disney D23, the ultimate fan experience. And I purposely did not talk about the cruise line news really in depth, because I wanted to do an episode on cruise line changes and in general, stuff like that. So
yeah, I guess we only talked that they had that announcement that they were doing more ships.
Yes. So to jump right in and catch people up, Disney has a cruise line. And
wait, what?
It's true. And they started back in 1998? 99, 98? That was the inaugural season. With the Disney Magic. And they've just
year, the wonder.
Grown exponentially. However, there was, a pretty significant time span between, say, the Fantasy and the most recent issued ships, which are the Disney Wish and now the Treasure.
Ooh.
So, I don't know. I guess cruising in general has just kind of taken off. Cruising used to definitely have a different reputation. It was like an old people thing. And then Carnival Cruise came. I mean, some cruise lines are still known for that. I'm looking at you, Holland America.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. But then Carnival kind of came along, the fun ships with Kathy Lee Gifford back in the late 80s, I guess. Early 90s. And then it kind of took on a different reputation for like a party ship, if you're doing like a 3-night cruise to the Bahamas.
I did a Carnival cruise in 1995, and it definitely had that reputation.
Yeah, it's really like a whole different thing. When we lived in Tampa, my mother was still selling travel, I believe. So she was selling cruises and would often take us on Carnival cruises that went out of Tampa because it was just very close by. And the older kids, when they were actually kids, went on a few Carnival cruises. Ooh. Some of them solo with Grammy and some of them with the whole fam. But then when we moved back to Orlando and I was, much more involved in Disney, we kind of got back into... Actually, it was probably because of you that I got back into the Disney cruise swing of things, because, of course, Lou with WDW Radio, which you may know from our recent Disney sideshow, is how we kind of met. And he did and still does to this day group cruises.
Yeah, I did. And I did the first 3 of those.
Yeah.
Back in 2011, 12, and 13, I believe.
And back when they first started doing them, it was always like a reason. There was like a special reason to book. So he would have like a special guest. There was the Richard Sherman cruise, and I think Ridley Pearson has done a few. And some other people. There's been like, I think, Disney artists on board and stuff like that. But I don't think that happens as much anymore. It's just kind of like the community itself. We haven't been on one in a while. Life kind of got a little busy too.
Yeah, but even though I had done, the first 3 of those cruises with Lou, I had done Disney though. I believe 6 times before that. a Disney cruise. So
Fancy.
yeah. So yeah, that I was, and I had previously mentioned that I did that one Carnival cruise back in 1995. Literally, that was the only non-Disney cruise that I had ever been on. So,
Wow. I've been on a handful of other cruise lines and ships because you may or may not know, but back before children, I was a travel agent and then a leisure and cruise manager of a travel agency. And now I still currently work for a travel agency. I don't go on as many cruises as many of the agents do, but it's still, kind of always hanging around there. It's a fun way to travel. And
it is.
I used to like to go on there to see places without, flying into a Caribbean location. But with Disney Cruise Line, it is kind of, for us anyway, all about the ship itself.
That's right.
And we, for the most part, don't get off the ship, no matter the port. I think it would
Other
be...
than the Disney,
Well, yeah,
destinations.
Castaway Key. But even that, I feel like the last time, I don't know if we even got off then.
We did. It just, we weren't off for very long.
Yeah, because it's so hot. Usually we go like when it's less expensive, so it's like summertime or something. So during that time when I was a travel agent, I was doing something called getting my CLIA certification, which CLIA is the Cruise Line Association of America or something.
There's got to be an I in there somewhere.
Yeah, in Cruise Line Institute. I feel like that's wrong. Industry, International Association, I think.
Yes.
Cruise Line, I got there. And I got my ACC, which is Accredited Cruise Counselor, and then MCC, which is Master Cruise Counselor, back in 1997, I think. And back then, it's pretty similar now, but it's all done like online. But you had to do a certain number of ship inspections and then sail on a certain different number of itineraries. So like 1 to 2, 3 to 4 night cruises. And then I think back then it was either 1 or 2 7-night plus cruises.
Wow.
And then my first honeymoon, sorry, honey, I went on Norwegian Cruise Line, which I enjoyed, but it has changed a lot since then. I think they're trying to redo a lot of their ships and whatnot. And Royal Caribbean, of course, has kind of exploded in the last few years as well. And that's kind of like a whole different type of cruise. I think it's people that are just wanting to have like a super fun getaway time. And it's all about also the experiences on the ship, but in a different way than Disney Cruise Line. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of Royal Caribbean back when I was getting my certification as well, because we were in Orlando then, and I could just go to Port Canaveral and do like Sovereign of the Seas back in the day or something like that. But that was pretty much it. I did a lot of touring of different cruise lines like Princess and Costa Cruises.
Oh, wow.
Which is European. They're Italian.
Very
and
Italian,
like
yeah.
you can still fully smoke on those ships.
Even to this day. Yes.
Yeah. It was so gross touring those. And even Carnival, like when we were going in the early 2000s, the casinos were still full of smoke. I don't know if they've changed because we haven't been on one in a long time with a casino, but well, except for Royal Caribbean. And those, they do have.
And Virgin.
No smoking. Oh, yeah, Virgin Cruise Lines. That's another whole fun thing. Honestly, I liken Virgin Cruise Lines to Disney, but just without the kids.
Without the children,
because the ship and like the entertainment and the food are just super top notch, in my opinion.
Yeah, you and I were able to do one of those, I think 2 years ago. That was wonderful.
Maybe even more. I think it was 2021.
Ooh.
Yeah, we need to go back again. But getting back to Disney Cruise Lines, which is our topic. I went not on an inaugural, but I actually have my little Castaway Club cruises on here, which lists everything. And for some reason, you guys could not get yours to show up.
Which is a bummer, because I've been on 14 of them.
Yeah, you're way ahead of me.
Number check. What else does everyone else have?
Mine is 11.
Oh, that's cute.
11, wow.
And yours is what?
Mine is 5.
5. But you're gold, at least. You're.
Not nearly as cool.
I know.
You're getting there.
So the first one I went on was October 8th to 11th, 1999 on the Magic. And I was in stateroom 7616. I can tell you my reservation number and everything. That's so funny that they keep all this.
Not for everyone, apparently.
I know,
really
that
missed
is crazy.
page.
And I super loved it. It was a very fun time. You know, when the ship first came out, it was a whole different experience. And it was really exploring it was like reinventing the golden age of cruising, which is what they've always said.
Yeah.
Disney has said about those ships, the Magic and the Wonder. I've actually never sailed on, but I have toured and had lunch and seen a show or two on that ship.
And they've designed them in such a way that, like, an old classic cruising liner.
Yes. And I feel like we have talked about Disney Cruise Line in general a few times in prior podcasts. Like we talked about the dark blue hull color, Monica blue.
That's right.
Which was specially created. And then how they had the yellow lifeboats, because prior to that, and pretty much for every other cruise line, they're orange because that was like the safety color. And Disney had to convince everyone to let them have yellow ones.
That way they could be the color of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Or that Mickey and his shorts. And
Yeah,
his
even though
ears
it's
and
not
shoes.
a black hull, it's close enough to Mickey
Right.
Mouse colors. But yeah, I mean, those ships were super interesting. And it's something I recently found because I've been touring the Wish a few times recently for work. And I'm not sure, I always take tour discussions and facts with a grain of salt because we know how sometimes stories can be told amongst tour guides and then they become fact when they're not actually true. But this, you may have input on this, I suppose. But the design of the Magic and the Wonder, you know how when you go into the grand atrium or whatever they call it, those golden, like the character inlays or
know exactly
embossed
what you're
things or
talking about.
whatever that pop out there. They are only the characters that existed during the time period that the ship is themed to. So it's only like the Fab Five because that's all that existed back then.
That makes sense.
Isn't that interesting?
I don't remember
When
if
is
I've
the
ever heard
then
that.
that is back to?
I would say like the early 1900s. No?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the Magic is in Art Deco.
Right. Which that would be
whereas
the 20s.
The Wonder
So,
would be Art Nouveau. But I don't know the time period of those.
I know the Fantasy is Art Nouveau. I don't know about the Wonder. But yeah, there's those little things. What is that called? Like a relief, maybe.
It is relief-ish.
Yeah. So those, you won't see like,
My work is cut out for me trying to find a good picture of this.
I might have some actually on my phone. So
But that is the exact kind of a detail that, yes, Imagineering
would have thought about.
done
Well,
when designing these.
Here's the
Absolutely.
thing too, that what made me question it is when those first came out, there wasn't a presence of Disney IP, if you will, beyond those characters on the ships. Like there wasn't, I mean, I guess there was like the name of the characters for the dining things. Like there was Ariels or Tritons or something, not Ariels, Tritons. And then the Royal Palace isn't named after everyone, but those characters were in there like princessy things. So yeah, maybe that is true. I don't know. If you know, let us know in a comment somewhere. But yeah, those are just like the Fab Five people. Whereas on these new ships, you will see more modern takes on characters and seeing them present, such as The Wish has Cinderella and the Treasure. Is the Treasure the one with the Black Panther, or is that going to be Destiny? Quick, we need someone to look that up.
Wait, what was the question?
You know the
Or is it the Adventure?
statue.
Isn't it the Adventure now?
What is that? They don't even call it the Grand Atrium anymore. Now it's just like, I don't even know.
This thing?
Oh yeah, that's the Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we need to find out. Oh wait, it's Aladdin and Jasmine, right? on the Treasure. I'm pretty positive. Yes. The carpet, like them on the carpet. Because that's why the horn plays a whole new world.
The horn? Are we? Sorry. The horn plays about 50 different songs now.
Yes. Yes. See, when the Treasure was first announced, I fell in love with this color palette that we are now seeing on screen. The Wish was so white in like the design choices.
Wish so white.
And
Yeah, all of the the kind of the empty spaces
yeah.
throughout all the hallways were very not plain, but just
Yeah.
very light colored, and it seemed like they could have done a lot more with that.
Yeah, but I think it's because it was themed to, wishes in general and like Cinderella and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So, but when we first went on, we're kind of jumping around here, but when we first went on The Wish, I really was not a fan of the color scheme, the architectural design choices, just the look of it. And I didn't think it was going to age well at all. But now I've toured it so many times for work that it's kind of grown on me, I guess. But I'm still really looking forward to seeing the Treasure and then following that up with
The Destiny.
the Destiny, which
Yeah.
the Destiny is like the theme is heroes on there. So that's why
Okay.
Black Panther is there. The room types, again, we're jumping around here, but the room types are like Incredibles themed, I think, and then also Hercules,
Wow.
and then probably some others because there's not ever just two. But yeah, so these Wish class, as you keep saying, are going to be the same layout because I know when the Wish first came out, it got some negative feedback kind of on the layout and just how things didn't really flow well or make sense, especially for people that had been so used to the
that's the thing.
dream
It
and the
was
fantasy and
because
the magic and the wonder.
The magic and wonder were definitely one type, and when the dream and fantasy came out, they were very similar, even though they were much larger.
Yeah.
Everything was pretty much in the same place,
Mm-hmm.
same idea. The Wish threw all of that out the window,
Yeah.
and they
I mean-
just completely redesigned the whole thing. And so most of the folks who had cruised on any of the first four ships, it was a complete departure,
Yeah.
and so hard to get used to.
Yeah, and when you look at the the images of the lobbies, for lack of a better term, it's so different looking. Like is that the magic on the left or the dream?
This is the one that has Donald. I don't know which one that is.
That is the dream, I think, because the wonder has Ariel and the fantasy I think has like the. Oh wait, maybe I'm confusing because one of them is like the fisherman Mickey, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was the original one, the magic.
But they changed that or no?
No, they've never
Oh, okay,
changed
the
that.
magic. Okay, so that's the
Or the
dream.
magic or the wonder.
Yes, because the fantasy was different colors of the lighting. It was like the pinks and greens, right? I'm pretty positive. But they've since redone the lighting on the magic, I think. Also. So this is the dream that we're currently looking at on screen. And it's so like yellow and brown toned for
And
all
gold.
the. But when you went on a ship up
Warm.
until, yes, very warm coloring. When you went on a ship up until the most recent, I would say the last 5 years, that's what all the ships were like, those colors. And the Carnival especially was even like everything was black, like black lacquer and shiny things and whatever. But, and lots of metallics for that. But yeah, definitely a classic look. You could, even think it was reminiscent of the Titanic in a good way
Yeah.
back when those ships came out. And they really are beautiful. I recently went on the Magic. I think we all did. That was one of the ones we all did most recently out of Miami for one of
2018.
our January birthday cruises. And I think the ship held up. I mean, it was definitely showing its age, and they've been, refurbed over the years, but I think it's still like the layout and all of that stuff. I do enjoy being on a smaller ship because it's so much more navigable.
And then, there's a lot fewer folks on
Yeah.
those two ships, the Magic and Wonder.
That is true. And the Wish does always seem crowded when you're actually sailing on it with a full ship. And it does take you a while to figure out the layout. Like the first time we went on, I was like, this is terrible and I hate it. And then I sailed on it again for work by myself with a coworker. Sorry, everyone. And I knew where everything was and it was much easier and it made more sense then. So I feel like when we go on the Treasure, whenever that is, it's going to be a lot easier. And oh, that's so pretty. Wow.
What's that?
That is the grand atrium of, or the grand hall, I guess they call them. That's what it is. They don't use the term atrium in these new ones. They use hall. And it's just like a deep, like jewel tone blue, like a dark sapphire, and then some teals and gold, like a brassy gold color. Not
And a nighttime sky up on the top, on the roof.
I would
area
be
or the ceiling.
really surprised if it actually is this dark when when people are actually on it. And I think you can kind of see over here in the rendering on the right side, it's like they've staged it at nighttime
Oh, yeah.
or whatever, so it is already darker in here.
Hmm.
But it feels really dark for modern Disney to make this now. Like I think there's no way that this isn't just like all white, really bright lights all the time.
We'll find out soon because it is currently sailing to New York City if it's not already there. And
New York City?
on the 20th, they're doing tours. So a bunch of agents from Mouse Fan Travel will be there collecting content. So I might even have some actual photos to share with this podcast. I probably definitely will. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
And the Treasure sets sail, I believe, right around my birthday time in
When is
December.
that?
Which is
By the
kind
way, I
of
knew that.
crazy for inaugural to be like in the month of December and around the holidays. The prices were outrageous
Much
when
higher, yeah.
that first came out. And so the Destiny, I honestly forget off the top of my head when the Destiny is first sailing, but I'm pretty sure it's like summertime in 2025. I don't know.
That or 2026.
Yeah. So do you want to go over our previous cruises? So for me, after the 1999 one, I did not sail again until 2012. So a bit of a dry spell for me. And that was when I went on one of those WDW radio cruises.
On the Disney Dream.
It was the second one that he had done, and I was working. I had just started working at Mouse Fan Travel, and I was doing social media only, which was basically just posting a photo a day back then. And I was like, hey, if there's a chance I can go to cover this for social media. And Becky said yes, and I was able to go.
And I was there too.
Yeah.
That was my 7th cruise.
La-ti-da.
Well, no, I just mean that I had 6 before that, but we've cruised together ever since.
That's true. And you've been on the Wonder, though, before.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have 3 times.
Where did you sail on the Wonder one? Because nowadays that really does like Alaska or Europe.
Right. So basically, I started back in 1998 or 9 as well, back when it only had the 2 ships. And I sailed on the Magic the first time, and then I did 3 consecutive 4 nights on the Wonder. But back then, when there were only 2 ships, those were also all exclusively Caribbean. So I've only been on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. And the only time that I've ever been on a Disney cruise that did not sail out of Port Canaveral was that one time that we went down to Miami.
Oh,
in
really?
2018. Right.
I've been out of Miami a few times and Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, but not Disney out of Tampa, I don't think.
So anyway, as I mentioned, I did four of the 4 nights, three and 4 nights on the Magic and Wonder, and then I was able to do 2 7 nights with my extended family on the Magic. This was still before the Dream and the Fantasy, and then when Lou started having his cruises, I did the first of his, which was the year before you, also on the Dream, and then the second one was on the Dream. And then his third one was a 7-night on the Fantasy, which we had done. And that is the only time I've actually sailed on the Disney Fantasy.
Wow. Oh, I forgot that I don't say wow in real life. I mean, I do in real life, but
We do.
yeah, the only time I've been, well, let me look at this list. Hold on. Have I only been on the Fantasy one time?
I believe so. Unless you sailed for
Yeah,
work.
no. Only that one time. And boy, I fell in love. I mean, I feel like perhaps I've been back on for those things where they were debuting a new show. I don't know what shows are currently on the Fantasy.
A couple of times I've been able to tour the ship while it was in dock. I think a couple of times we've gone where they've premiered one of their shows where we were able to go down there, be on the ship. They would do a presentation of the show. They'd give us a meal, and then we got off the ship.
Yeah.
And I know that we've been on the Disney Fantasy for one of those because I remember having gone there a second time, even though we sailed that one cruise, the 7-night, back in 2012, I believe.
Yes.
Or 13.
The Fantasy was 2013.
Right. So anyway, but yeah, so my count is that I've been on the Wish once, the Fantasy once. I've sailed out of the Dream, the Disney Dream 5 times, the Disney Magic 4 times, and the Disney Wonder 3 times. For a total of 14.
I really want to, because probably less than a year ago, they started doing 4 and 5 night Fantasy sailings out of Port Canaveral, I believe. It could be a different port, but that was always the issue with the Fantasy, is that it was a 7-night cruise and getting everyone off for that long. And
plus it's a bit pricier.
Yes, for sure. Disney, if you were unaware, is much higher than quote unquote equivalent cruise ships, basically because you're paying for Disney quality everything from food to entertainment to guest service, customer service, food. Did I say dining? I did say dining. Sorry. There's pictures scrolling up of our. I should have albums on my Facebook page. Good old Glenn. I wonder if Glenn's listening.
I remember it took a long time for us to get Glenn on one of those cruises, and so we finally did on that one.
That was the one the first one that I was on, or the Fantasy? What are you looking at now? This is the Fantasy, right?
This is some random person's Flickr account for a WDW radio cruise on the Disney Dream.
2012. Okay. That must have been the November one.
Yes.
Which I was on, the first one. I have been on the Magic first, then the Dream in 2012, and then the Magic in October of 2013, which was only 2 nights. That's when they had just refurbished the Magic, and they were debuting it out of Miami. That was the time, if you recall, that I forgot my license. And that was what I needed to get on the ship.
Whoops.
And you, even though you had driven me down to Miami, you drove back or something like that. Yeah, we came in early and we were staying at the Marriott because this was a work thing. And Lou was on there too I guess it was like media and travel. People had been invited to this, 2-night sailing to nowhere. And at the time, I was driving a Toyota Camry, which really doesn't matter in this story. However, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I have weird ways of keeping my car. So back then, I would park it in the garage and I would leave my ID in the door of the car, because this was before the flyover was built where you didn't have to go through the toll booth, the Magic Kingdom toll booth. And I always had to show my ID to get from my children were going to Celebration High School. And then I had to drive back home because I was living in Independence, which is behind the other side of Magic Kingdom. Celebration is on like the front side, I don't know what the direction is,
you had to
but
go through the toll plaza.
had to go through the toll plaza. So I was just like, I always had my ID out. And so I just kept it in the car. And then if I left the car, I would grab it and put it in my purse or something. However, as you can imagine, the story is going this way. I left it in the car door when you dropped me off in Miami the night before this cruise.
Ooh.
So then we discovered all of this. We were trying to get, because it's not the cruise line, it's the Port Authority is demanding.
Which is essentially like U.S. Customs and all that.
Yeah. So you being you drove back to Miami from Orlando you did it at like night or in the overnight or something in the wee hours of the morning. And then
Seems very familiar.
And then immediately drove back home because he wasn't going on the ship. So yeah, this has established a reputation of, wow, what a guy to pretty much everyone that meets you, because you do things like this often, because I forget things often.
I believe it was just a couple of weeks ago, in fact.
Yup.
When you were on the Wish.
I was touring the Wish, and when you sign up to do these, you register your ID, and it can be either a license or a passport, and I have both of them on my phone so I can get the number. So I just did my passport, and then even though we had a discussion beforehand, like, ooh, I can't forget my passport, I forgot my passport. And he drove to Disney Springs to try to catch me before the bus left, but he was just like literally 30 seconds too late.
I was driving alongside the bus.
And if I was a different kind of person, I would have gone up and asked the bus to stop and I could get the thing. But sorry, that's just not in my
So instead,
my brain
I drove
does
to
not
the
allow
port
me. Yes,
to give you your password.
you did. And it all worked out.
Yeah, I was going to say, because also, and this is completely not related, but that one time that we sailed out of Miami, we forgot your son's
birth certificate.
And
because
we had to
he
make
didn't have
some
a license
arrangements to get that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all kinds of fun things like that.
And luckily, a lot of times, I mean, they don't like to promote this, but a lot of times they try to scare you, and then they're just like, oh, a picture is fine or a copy. If you're doing, well, actually, we were doing a real cruise then, so they didn't have to accept a copy of the birth certificate, but they did. So yeah, always be prepared is, the moral of this story. But we've kind of lucked out when it hasn't happened. And then I've lucked out because you exist on the times that it did happen.
It's so nice to exist.
Yeah. Thanks for being an amazing guy.
Oh, shucks.
Anyway, so that was the Magic sailing in 2013. And then we went on the Fantasy, which was another Lou cruise. That was a whole week. Yep. And I fell in love with the Fantasy because I super love Art Nouveau. And I just loved that it was a newer ship, and I just loved everything about it. And then we went on the Dream in 2014. I honestly don't know if that was a Lou thing or if that was the whole family. It was a 3-night.
That was the whole family.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then December 7th to 11th, 2015, we also went on the Dream.
That was kind of like a honeymoon.
It was a pseudo honeymoon because we were supposed to go to Tokyo for our honeymoon. And we're still planning that.
Working on it.
Going on, 8-9 years? We'll get there. Now everyone and their brother has gone to Tokyo. Back when we wanted to go, it was still cool to go to Tokyo. Then I went on the Magic again. That was the one out of Miami for the January birthday cruise. And then Disney Dream, 19, 20, 20. That was an actual 3-night cruise. I don't know what we did that for. Something. And then the Wish in September of 2022. And then...
Oh, the one before that.
The Dream in October.
Was that the Halloween cruise when
Oh,
we were all dressed
yeah.
up as the Mary Poppins
That is
family?
true. We actually did a group costume thing. And then the Dream again in also September 2022. I'm pretty sure that was, yes, that was the Mouse Fan Travel agent cruise that was also a Halloween one. And did I room by myself on that ship? I may have.
Who knows?
Doesn't happen very often, but I think it did then. And then I went on the Wish again and said, wow, lots of September cruises for me personally. That was the agency one as well. That was like a social media cruise put on by Disney that they invited certain agents from agencies. And even though I'm not an agent, I do social media. So I got to go on that. And that's it so far.
Wow.
Until we sail on the Treasure
Ooh, that'll be fun.
at some point in the future.
Hopefully.
So yeah, mine list is not as impressive. And of course, Becky, where I work, has like 25 plus. She's like one of
I'm
those
sure it's
Pearl
a-
people or
Probably
something.
100 plus by now.
Probably. Because she goes on all of the Lou cruises. I'm sure Lou is a Pearl person too. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know. Anyway, what should we talk about now? Should we talk about the Treasure?
Sure.
Okay.
It just popped into port. So what are some of its fun features?
Well, the Treasure, as we were starting to talk about, unlike the Wish, which was so bright and white and Cinderella-y and wishy and all that stuff, the Treasure is it's themed to adventure, which is not to be confused with the adventure ship, which we haven't talked about this time yet, which is the existing cruise ship which Disney purchased and has retrofit or is retrofitting as we speak.
So, yeah, a different company was creating this other ship, and it never did get fully completed. And then they decided to not go through with that. So Disney purchased this ship that was kind of already built, and they decided to essentially make it their own. And they're currently doing that. And that ship, once it's done, will, I believe, be Disney's largest ship. And then, but that will sail exclusively out of Singapore.
Yes.
So that'll have a totally different feel, because the Asian cruise market is a completely different market than the American market. And
But-
so, like, I'm wondering, and it has not been revealed whether this is the case or not, whether it will have, for example, a casino or not.
They have not revealed
Or
that it will, yes.
What will there be? Their policies be on smoking on board? Because, as I mentioned, Asian cruise markets are completely different than
Well,
American. So this
what
isn't
is-
really marketed towards to us,
Right.
Because it's sailing out of Singapore. So who's
But
to say?
people are going to go on it.
I do know that people will go on because they.
What
Have
is
to.
the policy on smoking in the Asian parks that you've been to?
You can smoke.
You can smoke in the parks? Maybe they've updated it since you've been, though.
Back,
Who knows? But one of the things, the images that were just pulled up for us there, is they have like a very fun, similar to Royal Caribbean's on their Oasis class ships, they have the Central Park. There's something very similar to that where you have basically a balcony cabin or stateroom, but it's not facing the ocean. It's facing the interior of the ship, which is basically like a big atrium area. And there's a lot of
Yeah, so there would be kind of like a
Trees
deep
and-
groove cut right in the middle of the ship, where it's essentially an atrium, and where essentially half of the staterooms would be looking out onto this atrium area
Yeah.
instead of out into the ocean. So
And it's interesting. Some people really enjoy and prefer those on Royal Caribbean ships that have that either the Central Park view, and there's also a thing on Oasis class ships. And I guess with the Icon class ships as well, where it has the Central Park and the boardwalk area. Although on Icon and Utopia, I believe it's called like, or maybe it's just Utopia, it's the like sun and surf instead of the boardwalk. But essentially, there's one tranquil area and then a more raucous entertainment zone area that you could have a balcony facing over. So the Disney Adventure does have that sort of thing. They also have a very interesting pool outdoor area. It looks like they're going to do like an actual roller coaster situation out there, not just an aqua one. We'll see if that, I think that may have already existed on that ship or something.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Carnival has experimented with that as well, I believe.
Yeah. And, Norwegian has like go-karts on their ship, like an actual indoor track and all of that craziness. So it's not unheard of to have these really unique features. So, yes. Sorry, we got sidetracked with the adventure because we hadn't talked about it, but the treasure is adventure themed, the spirit of adventure, I guess. And as we talked about, the Grand Hall is going to be completely different color scheme and much darker and jewel-toned situations. But let's go down and see from what we know on the Wish, what's the same and what's different.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things that they've announced for the treasure. By now it's much more than announced. It actually exists. That, of course, caught a lot of people by, just as being very interesting.
Yes.
And so let's do that.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure instead of Arendelle,
Right.
the frozen dining experience, you are going to have Plaza de Coco.
So this is one of the three main dining areas where you rotate between three dining areas. The one on the Wish was themed to Frozen, and this one is themed to Coco.
Yes. Be transported to the colorful plaza of Santa Cecilia during this multi-night Coco-themed theatrical dining experience featuring the flavors of Mexico. On your first night, watch as Miguel and the town mariachis entertain with lively song and dance. Then, on the second night, behold the plaza's transformation to a fun-filled Dia de los Muertos celebration with Mama Coco and Abuelita and the rest of the Rivera family. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because that would assume that you would be dining there more than once. So it would, because you rotate dining between three restaurants. If if you were to do a 7-night cruise, you would definitely have at least 2 nights.
Yeah, and the treasure is all 7, I think.
Oh, okay, I did not.
So that's why.
Okay.
So we have not experienced that yet. But I mean, I guess they're saying like the first night that you go there, not like everyone goes there on the first night.
So it would essentially be the first 3 nights because 1/3 of the guests are going to this restaurant in the first 3 nights,
right,
to eat. And so it would be the first theme, and then they would transform it to the Dia de los Muertos for nights 4, 5, and 6.
Interesting.
And probably throw in a pirate night in there as well.
Oh yeah, probably.
if they keep doing that.
So then Worlds of Marvel is returning as it is on the Wish. However, it will have a new storyline because there's 2 nights in Worlds of Marvel too, because they have to fill the 7-night thing. So they probably would have done the same show and kept it as is with the Ant-Man and Spider-Man and all that stuff.
Yeah, because they had the Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that really was a very unique thing when we dined there. Because first off, the coloring of the decor makes it very hard to see your food.
Yeah, that's true. It's very like blue and pink.
Because it's
lighting.
So Marvel themed. And and the walls are like animated in such a way to make it like a high-tech show. Yeah.
When we tour the Wish, we usually either don't go into Worlds of Marvel or they tell us like don't take any photos because basically the whole experience and the whole theme is the show that's happening. So if it's not going on, then you're just looking at black screens and nothing is like coming to life really. So it is very high tech. So in addition to the existing show with Ant-Man and the Wasp, or whatever experience. I think they did say that they're doing Guardians of the Galaxy. It does say here a thing. Marvel Celebration of Heroes Groot remix. Follow Groot, and he does look like I think
Is it baby Groot
it's
or
not
teenage
baby.
Groot?
I think it might be teenage. During this on-screen quest to throw the ultimate surprise party for his friend Rocket. Plus, eat to the beat while listening to hit songs from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That'll be fun. Awesome mixtapes, and test your knowledge of all things Marvel with a fun-filled trivia game for the whole family. So that's how they're getting around it. It's basically just like music and trivia, and Groot and Rocket will appear, I'm sure, very briefly on screen.
Maybe there will be a raccoon that'll be running across everyone's table.
I mean, that would be fun for me. And then also returning is 1923, A Taste of Old Hollywood.
And that's a very nice, fancy restaurant. That's essentially split up into two sides. There's a Roy side and a Walt side.
Mm-hmm.
And
but they are identical.
Yeah, and there's tons of artifacts and things in there about that time period and in Walt and Roy's life, and when they just arrived in California to start up the Disney Brothers studio.
It's true. And I think the dining, like the menu for that, is kind of themed to that time frame as well. There's some Walt favorites and then other modern takes on things as well.
It's just a really fancy dining. I really enjoyed that one.
So also the rest of the like quick bites and treats, if you will, Marceline's Market returns. And as far as they have said, or that I'm aware, it will be the same, setup and all of that. I don't know if it'll have like
setup. I mean, that was definitely an improvement from the Dream and Fantasy to the Wish classes, that the setup that they had over there in Marceline Market.
What do you mean by that?
I mean,
the
way
seating or the service?
Those like all the different food sections that they had, and the kind of cuisine that they had, as well as the seating areas as well.
Interesting. I mean, that got a lot of flack when it first opened.
Flack?
Because people said that there wasn't enough seating, and also because this kind of came out right after COVID, or maybe it was built during, I don't know what the reasoning behind it was, but instead of being an actual buffet, it is they serve you for the most part. There's a few exceptions to that, like where they have pre-made salads and you can just reach in and grab a bowl. I'm pretty sure the kids section might be you help yourself, but everything.
I'm sorry.
You don't remember that?
I actually don't remember that.
Wow. I mean,
apologize.
I've had lunch there quite a few times recently. So,
Yeah, you would definitely. And is it still that way?
well, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's glass in front of it, so they would have to do major reconstruction to change the way they do it. But it's not bad. It's just for people that like, oh, actually, could I have 7 more scoops of mac and cheese for people that want that? It's a different experience.
You have to ask for it.
Yes.
You can't-
I do remember on one of those Norwegian cruises a million years ago, they had a buffet, but it was set up in one of the main dining rooms, and it was very fancy. Like, you didn't have to pick up your plate, and you didn't have to, it was like whatever you wanted, the server person that was standing there got it for you. And I was very uncomfortable with that because I was like, I don't know. But yeah, it's fine and good. Everything has, the kinks have been worked out, I think. So I'm sure it'll be fine. Also, instead of, what is it called on the Wish? Joyful Sweets, which is themed to Inside Out. Instead of Inside Out, it is now Jumbo's Sweets, spelt Jumbeaux, which is Mrs. Jumbo, or
right.
Jumbo's thing was like where they got the ice pops, the popsicles from, like popsicles
In
from
Zootopia.
Zootopia. So it's themed to that. Instead of having joy and the other emotions figures, there will be a Nick
Wilde?
Nick Wilde, thank you.
get
I could not
nicked?
remember his last name. And Judy Hopps, who is apparently on duty because she looks like she's wearing her police uniform.
this place is weird to me because it's not included with
Correct.
the price of your cruise. This is
Right.
you pick something out and then you pay for it.
Yeah,
which
and
I'm not used to.
well, and they make it so, enticing because there's like 72 flavors of gelato in there, and there's all of these baked goods and
Right.
very pretty things.
But over on just across the way on deck, you can get unlimited ice cream that's included.
Yeah, it's just not as Instagrammable, and a lot of
And that's
these
it.
new
It's
ships are
Instagram.
that. Yeah, exactly. And then the little 2 coffee shops, you know how they have like the Wishing Star is one, and then Sword in the Stone, maybe something themed to that. There's like a Pinocchio themed one is the Wishing Star, and then I think it's something to do with the sword for the other coffee shop. But those, of course, are my favorite place to grab an oat milk latte, which is also not included, but I will pay for it. And also they have the little coffee card where you get, if you buy 10, you get one free, which I do many times. And it's worth it to me to have,
Buy 50, get 5 for free.
yeah. But I enjoy it, and it's good coffee, and they have oat milk, and it's better than having a watered down regular coffee. But that's just me. You may not be into that. They also are bringing back the Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods, which we all love, and has Mickey's
that's the
Smokestack
highlight.
Barbecue, Donald's Cantina, Daisy's Pizza Pies, Goofy's Grill, and Minnie's Delights. I
To
mean,
me,
we
that was
loved
a highlight.
those.
Yeah, because you can get a nice rice bowl or
Mm-hmm.
a barbecue and tacos.
Yeah.
Love it.
Super good. And pizza.
then
And they
what
have vegan
else?
options too, which is great. They have announced that the unique and original entertainment production Broadway caliber that they will be doing on the Treasure is Moana themed. Disney, The Tale of Moana.
A favorite of many. And Moana 2 is just about to come out, so
That's true.
it's
It'll be
very appropriate.
Yeah. And then they will also be doing Beauty and the Beast, which is on a different ship currently also. I don't remember which one. And then Disney Sees the Adventure, which is on the Wish, which is kind of one of those like overview, all the characters come out and do a number and someone
And
has to
tugs
drive the
at
ship or
your
something.
heartstrings as well.
Yes.
Let me ask you guys this question.
Mm-hmm.
The Moana show. Do you think Maui, real dude, just looking like a just a shirtless dude, or do they have like a big?
There
like,
there
Maui
is
There
a
is the
Maui
in park character. Yeah.
in the parade in California? They have
Yeah.
that, like the big Maui. Do you think they have that for the entire show?
I don't know.
But I think I'm
We
gonna
don't
guess.
know.
I'm gonna guess yes.
I do know that there's a 50-foot
Hook?
Tafiti
Oh, Tafiti.
puppet
That's right.
happening. They
Apparently that's supposed
recently
to be
announced
like a
that.
big old big deal.
Yeah, and it looks like this is an artist rendering proposed thing. There's a giant manta ray, the one that represents Grandma Tala, and from the looks of this, there's also perhaps a baby Moana puppet walk around, like how they have the Olaf and stuff. Yeah, like Tafiti, not what did I say? Tafiti? Okay, Taka. That's Taka, the angry fire goddess. Not Tafiti is the beautiful green flower goddess.
As she becomes when the heart of Tafiti is placed where it belongs.
Right, and it makes me cry every time.
It's such a beautiful story.
I can't wait to see that because it's going to be new and exciting. Additionally, the Aqua Mouse, which exists on the Wish and has 2 different storylines pulled from the
Mickey Mouse
new
shorts.
Mickey shorts that
Yeah.
we love and
We do
have
love
discussed
those.
previously. This one they are showing is the Egyptian short that happens, and I don't know if they're going to do another. Oh wait, an all new Mickey Mouse short called "Curse of the Golden Egg."
Ooh. Okay, so it's a different one. Because there
Yeah.
is a Mickey Mouse short that's kind of themed that same way.
There is, so I guess it's a new one. Additionally, just running through these, the former the current Luna Lounge on the Wish, which is the 2-story lounge, kind of like on the older ships, the D Lounge, where you would go
where
for
a lot
trivia
of the activities take place.
Exactly. But this is a 2-story one. So you can have twice the people experiencing trivia or whatever they're doing. This is called Sarabi, and it is
that Lion King?
inspired by The Lion King, home to musical performances, comedy acts, family game shows. And at night, it becomes an adult exclusive venue with live entertainment. So recently, they've been doing silent discos on board, which was, not a Disney Cruise Line thing. So that's fun that they're doing that, I guess. The Hero Zone will be returning, which is kind of, I didn't realize this until I did the tour, but the reason they did that is because on the older ships where, they had like the little mini golf thing or the putting green or the basketball things outside, and like wind would drastically affect
Very much so.
the enjoyment level, I guess, if you're trying to hit a tiny golf ball or get a basket in. So that's why they moved it inside, and it's all air conditioned.
Yeah, but I think so. This takes the place of where you would have essentially like a basketball hoop.
Courts.
Yeah, the sports hoop. So like when they have that set up, you would not be able to quote unquote shoot hoops because it's in the same.
Oh, the Hero Zone.
Right, the Hero Zone.
Yeah, because that's the inflatables thing that they
so
add
I think
in that
they
area.
kind of they go back and forth between the inflatable Hero Zone and just the sports courts.
The pools, I think, will be the same with the Toy Story Splash Zone. And the 2 movie theaters of Wonderland and Neverland cinemas will still be there
that's right.
as well.
They have 2 theaters.
Yes.
But let's talk about the big things.
Okay, so in the spot where the Hyperspace Lounge is on the Wish will be the Haunted Mansion Parlor.
I know this is going to be very popular.
It really is. Like, I'm genuinely worried about waiting to get into the see this.
And initially, the Hyperspace Lounge was that way, but then it became, it is themed to Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Haunted Mansion does more things because the Hyperspace Lounge, really all it has going for it is that it jumps to hyperspace every
it has that screen,
10
which is very
or so
fun.
minutes. Yeah, it is fun, but I think there's going to be a lot more illusion things and fun, weird stuff in this. And of course, like crazy drinks with souvenir cups, I'm sure. But yeah, so let's see. Grinning ghosts are bound to materialize. Okay. Then in the place where the bayou is, which is very beautiful and themed to Princess and the Frog, is called the Skipper Society.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an at-sea version of the Jungle Navigation Company Skipper Canteen restaurant in Magic Kingdom.
Right, but this is not a full-scale restaurant.
It is not.
It's a lounge and bar area,
Correct.
but with that Skipper Canteen theme.
It appears from the artist rendering that I'm looking at like more of a low-key tiki bar versus the way that the Skipper Canteen is themed.
Right.
Like the bar itself kind of has the overhang of a Jungle Cruise boat, but that's kind of where it ends. I don't know if they just haven't released more details or what. But
still, that is a very popular franchise, and that should go over very well as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there'll be like a lot of hidden Easter eggs and puns and all that.
And then what else?
So where not Triton's Lounge, the Keg and Compass, I believe it's called, which is kind of the sports bar-ish one. We did trivia in there one time.
Which was never big enough.
It's true.
It was always filled up to capacity, and I'm sure they'll have that same issue because this one is themed to what?
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's the Periscope pub.
I'm sure it'll be
navigating the deep
steampunk.
blue, and I'm sure there will be look through the glass ceiling. So that's going to be really fun and exciting. There, I'm sure will be like giant leviathans going by, or at least a giant squid.
A giant squid. Yeah.
Okay. In addition to that, we have I just want to make sure I'm seeing everything. So Paulo Steakhouse is returning. Enchanté is returning. And the Rose, which is the lounge before Apollo and Enchanté. Senses Spa will be the same. The Scat Cat Lounge is a cat-tastic piano bar radiating a vintage jazz club vibe with its hanging lanterns and artistic references to the classic Disney film The Aristocats. Baby grand piano adorned with colorful paw prints is the perfect spot for entertainment and upscale cocktails. This is where Nightingale's is in The Wish. So just kind of like on that hallway. And the Quiet Cove pool will still exist. And the little place where you get your hair done, whatever that's called.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
Hooks Barbary and Untangled Salon, actually. Kids clubs are returning. I'm assuming those are going to be the same layout as well. Maybe they'll do a few updates, but it looks like the cargo bay and all of that will be returning. So that'll be interesting, actually, to see if it's exactly the same. Because for the other ships, there's some differences in all of them to make it worthwhile for kids. There's a lot of kids out there that go on a lot of cruises and probably have...
They probably would like variety as well.
Yeah, exactly. So then the staterooms themselves are themed to Aladdin.
Ooh.
And I don't remember what else. They've only released, I think, Aladdin images for that theming. And then the concierge level will be Lion King and Finding Nemo.
I'll never know about that.
Well, you might be able to tour one sometime. I don't know. And then the Concierge Tomorrow Tower Suite. So in The Wish, it's a Rapunzel or Tangled Tower Suite.
Oh, right.
This one
where they have a
in
single
the funnel.
suite that's up in the funnel.
Yes.
That's
So this
weird.
one is the one that's themed to Epcot, basically, which is sad for me because I will never
But
experience
doesn't that particular stateroom not look out into the ocean, but onto the ship itself?
Yes.
That's kind of strange.
Yep.
Oh, well.
It does sleep 8 people, whereas the Royal Suites, I don't know what that one is going to be, but on the Wish, there are the Aurora Suites, and those are the 2-bedroom ones that have the upstairs, downstairs situation. And I don't know that they've released any info on what they will be.
I'm sure we'll soon find out.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I mean, the Aurora Suites are gorgeous, and I'm trying to see if I can find out the other themes for the regular rooms, because there's always multiple
if it's
ones. But
treasure themed, what do you think it would be? National Treasure?
yes.
Or DuckTales?
I would like the Nicolas Cage themed.
I was going to say Uncle Scrooge's Treasure,
Yeah.
or Pirates of the Caribbean.
Let's look at these and see if anything else pops up. So, Disney, celebrating iconic elements of Disney movies. Yeah, they're really only showing this one
Interesting.
Agrabah themed.
So it's even Agrabah and not necessarily the place where...
The place where what?
Where
the
Cave of Wonders.
Cave of Wonders. Cave of Wonders. Diamonds in the rough.
That's right. Which is where a lot of treasure is found, including the genie's lamp.
Wow. Yeah, so we'll kind of have to wait and see. I'm sure, like I said, there's going to be a lot more content revealed this coming week.
Yeah.
And
looking forward to that.
yeah, I guess if that's on the 20th, it won't be for this, but I'll do like an Instagram story or something.
Love it.
Or post. But yeah, that's the treasure. And then soon we'll be able to discuss the theming. And well, they kind of have a little bit on the Destiny because they've come out and said that it's going to be Incredibles and Hercules themed rooms. I don't know if it's the Tower Suite or one of those 2-story multiple bedroom suites, but one of those, there's an Incredibles and a Hercules version of those. So very different looks. Like the Incredibles one is like blacks and reds in dark colors, I believe. And then the Hercules one is very ethereal, if you will. So yeah, that's our latest update on. Did they say they're coming out with even more ships on
No, yeah,
the
so
D23? Like there's four more
in
unnamed
addition
ones.
to the ones that we've all mentioned here, Tokyo Disney, they've
right.
they kind of want to get in on the action as well, and so they've kind of ordered up another cruise ship to be sailing out of Japan, also in the Asian markets. And then when we were at the 23 Expo, because I'll always call it that, they had an announcement where they're doing 4 more in addition to all of those. So when all of those are done, there will be a grand total of 13 Disney ships.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so we've been on, or collectively, we've been on 5 of them, and the Treasure is just now coming out, which is the 6th. And when all of that is said and done, there will be 13. So that's more than double what there is now, which is
crazy,
bonkers. So there will be Disney ships.
This bubble will never burst.
Disney ships will be all sailing all around the world. And I'm sure there will always be
They're
one.
going to be bumping into each other.
But there's probably going to perhaps be need for another Caribbean port in addition to Lighthouse Point and Castaway Cay. Perhaps, I don't know. Or do you think that those two destinations?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Lighthouse Point.
Will those 2 destinations be able to support all of these cruise ships?
Well, Lighthouse Point is huge, and I feel like, we're not going to get into a whole discussion of it that hasn't already been said. And also, we haven't experienced it in person, so I don't feel like we can judge officially. But it's huge, so and I think it has a lot of room for expansion.
Okay. But also, with as many cruise ships as there are, it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to support, that any of these places need to support more than 1 cruise ships at a time.
Right,
Because
but they should.
they can, well, they can make it so that different cruise ships will, like one would dock there one day and then a different one would dock there the next day.
Yeah.
So they would just perhaps need more support to personnel to essentially clean up the island and get it ready for the next time. So, and they have the 2 destinations, Castaway Cay and Lighthouse Point here.
Yeah.
So,
it would be an interesting.
Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. An interesting job would be the person that sets the itineraries and schedules them.
Yeah, because that's a lot of juggling that one has to do to make sure to get all of that in place. Because they do have the port at Port Canaveral, and I think didn't Disney just create a port for themselves down in
Galveston?
No, either Miami or
Fort Lauderdale?
Broward County. Yeah, Lauderdale. Didn't they do that?
Yeah, I think they refurbished the Fort Lauderdale one and gave themselves their own thing.
To make it more personalized, because other than the one at Port Canaveral, it was just essentially a cruise port. But this one is themed now to Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah.
So, Bahamian cruises are going to be their main thing for them because of the climate and the weather, and it's usually year round that can support that. So there's always, the majority of cruises are going to be out of, Florida and that kind of thing to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Some out of Texas, you have it going out of Galveston. And then, of course, there will at least be 1, maybe 2 ships going up to Alaska in the correct times of the year, or Mexico, or Europe, or Australia.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that they just started doing
ships. They'll be able to go all over.
Yeah.
And so that will be fun.
I'm waiting for them to do an around the world voyage, and it will sell out, and they could pretty much charge whatever they wanted for it.
Yeah. Because all of the Disney theme parks around the world are pretty close to a port that could be part of it.
It's true.
So that'll be fun. We'll have to save up save up our pennies.
Yeah. Well, that's our little Disney Cruise Line update discussion. Let us know in your comments somewhere, anywhere. You'll find us online. Just search for Up the Waterfall Show and drop us a line and let us know if you've been on a Disney cruise, if your count is higher than Scott's, who in this family is the highest, and
Not by much.
what your favorite ships are. If you've been on the Wish, or if you are going on the Treasure or anything else, you could have the Destiny or the Adventure booked. We'd love to hear about it and hear what you are looking forward to or what you enjoy the most on a Disney cruise. We didn't really get into, this was kind of just like a news update sort of thing, and then talking a little bit about our personal experiences, but we didn't really talk about the Disney difference in a cruise line. So that could perhaps be a future discussion as well.
Because there certainly is.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk, we just kind of glossed over the fact that, I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably a Disney fan, so we don't need to tell you, but we will anyway. And yeah, I think that would be a fun future discussion.
Absolutely.
So thank you for listening again. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast version, make sure you know that you can also check out the video version on YouTube. You can just search for Up the Waterfall Show and see if there's any little fun photos or images that will correspond with what we've been talking about for some added fun. And we will still have more little sideshow episodes coming up. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We were just kind of getting back into the swing of things. And we will be silly. And coming up soon, very soon, at the end of November, will be our Disney deep dive, the first one since coming back, which will be, as we mentioned previously, on Tom Sawyer Island. If you have something that you would like us to make sure we cover on that Tom Sawyer Island deep dive, drop us a line anywhere. Message, comment, wherever, and we will make sure we address that in the deep dive. Speaking of leaving comments, make sure you are following us in all of the fun social media places. You may have seen a fun little clip that Chris put together, pulling us being silly on the most recent podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And I thought that was really funny. It made me laugh, and I lived it. So hopefully you enjoyed it too. Make sure you're following us everywhere, Up the Waterfall Show, to find more of those fun little tidbits and previews and sneak peeks. Until next time, we thank you for joining us up the waterfall, and we'll see you again real soon.
Bye now.